I have 7 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order and ask that the clerk please call roll.
Mr. Jim Benage.
Here.
Mr. Jeff Elshoff.
Here.
Mr. Jeff Haas.
Here.
Ms. Betty Martine.
Here.
Mr. Justin Smith.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. Want to welcome everybody to your regularly scheduled meeting of your Bel Aire City Council. Seems like it's been quite a while since we've been up here with the with the way the Tuesdays fell in April. Want to welcome everybody here this evening, watching online and in the audience, and watching at home. Tonight, our agenda, we're going to talk about our contract with Waste Connection. We're going to look at replacing culvert, looking at some online bill payment options, and some zoning opportunity regulation there that we want to look at. And we also have 4 proclamations, which I will admit I farmed out up here. It's not that often that we have that many, so we'll let each of the council members have an opportunity to read one of those proclamations tonight. Before we get into our pledge, I'd like to invite Father Terry Hedrick to come to the podium and open us in our opening prayer.
Let us pray. Almighty God and Father, we come to you in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, giving you thanks for your presence here by your Holy Spirit. As we gather, we give you thanks that you are a good and gracious God, abounding in steadfast love. We pray for the President, for the Senate and the House of Representatives, for all the leaders of the nations, and for all in authority, for our state government. And we also pray specifically for the city of Bel Aire, especially for Mayor David Austin, the City Council, and all the leaders of this community. We pray that you will reveal to them the knowledge of your will and all wisdom and spiritual understanding in order that they may be fruitful in their service. Anoint them with your spirit of wisdom, charity, and justice, that they may be steadfast in their purpose for the common good and may faithfully serve in their offices to promote the well-being of all people in the Bel Aire community. We ask all these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, who lives and reigns with you in the Holy Spirit, one God, both now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father.
Thank you.
Now, please rise and join us in the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before I ask for a motion on the consent agenda, I would like to ask that Council remove item B from your printed packet for the consent agenda, and we'll hear that at a later date. But I would ask that the consent agenda be passed with removal of item B.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move to approve the consent agenda, removing item B and approving item A. And
Second.
authorize the mayor to sign.
All right, we have a first and a second, removing item B. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next is the Appropriations Ordinance 1909, and $1.5 million. It's the cost of doing our business here. But over half of that was a land debt payment. So take out that $775,000 for a land debt payment. And then also $157,000 of that was for the first half of land special assessments, and $270,000 in bond payments. So a lot of stuff came due this month, and then of course we have the new Bobcat in there. So that's kind of a brief explanation as to why the appropriations ordinance is so much higher this time than what is normally there.
Mr. Mayor, I motion that we approve Appropriations Ordinance 19-09 in the amount of $1,525,395.25.
Second.
First and second, are there any questions or comments on appropriations ordinance 1909? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, now it's time for proclamations. First, I want to ask, is there anybody in the audience here representing building safety, older Americans, public service recognition, or the Bike Month and Bike Work Today? So seeing none, I'll ask council members to read the proclamations from the bench here. Let's start with you, Mr. Elsoff. Don't mind.
Absolutely. Proclamation, Older Americans Month, May 2019. To the citizens of Bel Aire, Kansas, greetings. Whereas Bel Aire is a community that includes citizens aged 60 and older, and whereas the older adults in Bel Aire are among of our most treasured resources, united by historical experiences, strengthened by diversity, and interpreting events through varied perspectives and backgrounds to bring wisdom and insight to our community. And whereas increasing numbers of adults are reaching retirement age and remaining strong and active for longer than ever before, and whereas the older adults in Bel Aire deserve recognitions for the contributions they have made and will continue to make to the culture, economy, and character of our community and our nation, and whereas our community can provide that recognition and respect by improving the quality of life for older Americans by increasing their opportunities to remain active and engaged in community life, providing individualized services and support systems to maintain the dignity, independence, and self-determination of older Americans as they age, combating ageist attitudes by honoring their past, present, and future contributions. Therefore, I, on behalf of David Austin, Mayor, do hereby proclaim May 2019 to be Older Americans Month. I urge every citizen to take this month to honor our older adults and the professionals, family members, and volunteers who care for them. Our recognition and involvement of older Americans can enrich our entire community's quality of life.
Thank you, Councilmember Elsoff. Councilmember Smith. Okay.
The proclamation, Bike Month and Bike to Work Day. To the citizens of Bel Aire, Kansas, greetings. Whereas for more than a century, the bicycle has been an important part of the lives of most Americans, and whereas today millions of Americans engage in bicycling as an environmentally sound form of transportation and excellent form of fitness and provides quality family recreation, and whereas the education of cyclists and motorists as to the proper and safe operation of bicycles is important to ensure the safety and comfort of all users, and whereas bicycle groups throughout the nation and state are promoting greater public awareness of bicycle operation and safety education in an effort to reduce accidents, injuries, and fatalities. And whereas Bel Aire is a growing, thriving community with transportation and recreation demands. Therefore, I do hereby proclaim May 2019 as Bike Month and May 17th, 2019 as Bike to Work Day in Bel Aire, and call upon our citizens to join with the City of Bel Aire to participate in this outstanding endeavor to remember to observe all safety measures, including wearing a helmet and obeying all traffic laws.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Benaj.
Proclamation for Public Service Recognition Week, May 5 through 11, 2019. To citizens of the Bel Aire, Kansas, greetings. Whereas Americans are served every single day by public servants at the federal, state, county, and city levels, these unsung heroes do the work that keeps our nation working. Whereas public employees take not only jobs but oaths. Whereas many public servants, including military personnel, police officers, firefighters, border patrol officers, embassy employees, healthcare professionals, and others risk their lives each day in service to the people of the United States and around the world. Whereas public servants include teachers, inspectors, law enforcement, bus drivers, managers, engineers, public works, recreation employees, firefighters, accountants, customer service representatives, laborers, computer technicians, social workers, and countless other occupations. Day in and day out, they provide the diverse services demanded by the American people of their government with efficiency and integrity. And whereas without these public servants at every level, continuity would be impossible in a democracy that regularly changes its leaders and elected officials. I therefore, on behalf of Mayor David Austin of the City of Bel Aire, do hereby announce and proclaim to all citizens and set seal hereto that May 5 through 11, 2019, as Public Service Recognition Week, all citizens are encouraged to recognize the accomplishments and contributions of government employees at all levels, federal, state, county, and city.
Thank you, Councilmember Benach. Councilmember Hawes.
All right. Proclamation, Building Safety Month, May 2019. To the citizens of Bel Aire, Kansas, greetings. Whereas our city is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depends on the safety and economic value of the homes, buildings, and infrastructure that serve our citizens both in everyday life and in times of natural disaster. And whereas our confidence in the structural integrity of these buildings is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, laborers, and other in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe constructions of buildings, and whereas these guardians, dedicated members of the International Code Council, develop and implement the highest quality codes to protect Americans in the buildings where we live, learn, work, worship, play, and whereas the international codes, the most widely adopted building safety, energy, and fire prevention codes in the nation, are used by most U.S. cities, counties, and states. These modern building codes also include safeguards to protect the public from natural disasters such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, wildland fires, and earthquakes. And whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of our community's largely unknown guardians of public safety, our local code officials who assure us of safe, efficient, and livable buildings. And whereas No Code, No Confidence, the theme for Building Safety Month 2019, encourages all Americans to raise awareness of the importance of safe and resilient construction, fire prevention, disaster mitigation, and new technologies in the construction industry. Building Safety Month 2019 encourages appropriate steps everyone can take to ensure the safety of our built environment and recognizes that the implementation of safety codes by local and state agencies has saved lives and protected homes and businesses. And whereas each year, in observance of Building Safety Month, Americans are asked to consider projects to improve building safety and sustainability at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us by local and state building departments and federal agencies in protecting lives and property. Therefore, I, Jeff Hawes, Council President, do hereby proclaim May as Building Safety Month in the City of Bel Aire and urge all citizens to join in this community's commitment to building safety.
Thank you, sir. Sign these. We'll get these passed down. Okay. Next, we're going to move into city requested appearances. Herschel West from Waste Connections who's asked to speak to us about the recycling rewards. So if you can come forward to the podium, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Herschel with Waste Connections. I sent a letter to Ty a couple weeks ago, about our recycling reward program that is going away at the end of this month. I don't know if most of you remember, we started this program, a recycling reward program, about 10 years ago when we first bought Single Stream to Wichita, where you could just commingle, put everything in one cart. And that program was Recycling Bank. We thought we would partner with a program like that to entice people to recycle. And it worked out very, very well. A couple of years ago, and we had probably over 50% of the people going online, signing up, and redeeming rewards. A couple of years ago, we noticed that Recycling Bank kind of got old. The rewards weren't as good as they used to be. So we went out and looked for another program, and we got in touch with a company called Recycling Perks. And we started that in June of 2018. And they would send us reports every couple of months about how many people would sign up, not just in the city of Bel Aire, but just around Wichita and surrounding area. And a couple months ago, we got a report that only 4% of the people were online redeeming points. Personally, I haven't done it in a while. I think everybody's just used to recycling and not worried about their points. I know some do, use the points, but like I said, the 4% number just wasn't enough for us to keep that program around. So that's why we're going away with it. Recycling we're still going to recycle single stream, curbside carts. That's not going away. It's just the recycling program, reward program.
Well, I appreciate you letting us know about that. I'm one who recycles. My recycling can is fuller than my trash can, and I don't know that I've ever redeemed recycling perks. I've thought about it and then never. So I'm.
Yeah, I think people just recycle to recycle now.
Yeah.
As a user of the Recycle Bank, I was pretty disappointed actually when it switched from Recycle Bank because they always had better coupons than the perks, and that's kind of why we stopped using the perks, just because the coupons weren't there and they weren't worth it to us as far as a value. So I know with the Recycle Bank we used a lot of points on a lot of coupons. So.
And I will tell you, if you've accumulated points now, they will still be available until you run out. You can still use them until they do run out.
So we need to encourage our citizens to get online and use those.
If they have them in their accounts, go ahead and use them.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, citizens' concerns. If there's anyone in the audience wishing to address council this evening about a topic on the agenda, a recent topic, all right. Seeing none, we're going to move on to reports. We'll start with Councilmember Haas.
I really don't have a report, just to say that my proclamation had a lot of really big words in it.
Why do you think I didn't read one?
Yeah. my sinuses and voice, thank you, though.
But I have no report, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councilmember Benaj.
Thank you, Mayor. Just three things. On May 2nd, I drove by the Gospel Assembly Church and saw the new LED sign, and it looks good. I know that was after the chief's observation of some concerns, and that was appreciated that he made those observations. But what I observed, which was later, it looks good, and it looks like it's working well, at least from that date. Okay, so I was glad to see that. I attended an open house of Bel Aire Recovery Center on last Friday. It was great to have a new business open in Bel Aire, and that was a pretty well attended event. And I also took advantage of the electronics recycling on Saturday, May 4th, and a big thank you to the Bel Aire Lions Club for their work on that effort. So that's my report. Thank you.
Councilmember Martin.
Well, I only have about four things. I attended the CCUA meeting in place of the mayor on the 26th. I attended Arbor Day on the 27th. There was a good turnout, but not as good as it should have been. I attended the Recovery Center open house ribbon cutting on May 3rd, and I'd just like to say that Deb Shelley, one of our residents, is going to be the director over nurses over there. It's a very beautiful building, and they had quite a turnout. I also attended Shredding Day. I got the time mixed up. I thought it was from 9 to 1, and it was 9 to 12, but they still took my shredding. And I'd like to personally thank the Lions Club for all the work that they do on that day. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Councilmember Smith.
Mr. Mayor, I have no report.
Councilmember Elsoff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a brief report. So on April 25th, the CCUA met, and that is the Chisholm Creek Utility Authority. We had a somewhat light agenda, I guess, but I just wanted to highlight just a couple of things that we did go over. We did have some routine maintenance items. We replaced a pump was replaced, and on one of the let's see, what was it? One of the sludge pumps was replaced, and also I believe last month's report I specified that one of the Bel Aire wells was getting inspected, and that inspection and overhaul process, I guess, it underwent required some additional repairs to be made. So we got those repairs budgeted in. So otherwise, there was just a brief update to the, I guess, the status as far as the life expectancy of the sewer treatment plant at CCUA, and the trend line that I've mentioned before. That's about 5 years from now to where the sewage treatment plant will be reaching its maximum design life / capacity. That was pushed back not quite a year, but so the result of that is on paper, per the statistics that we currently have, things have been pushed back a little bit. That doesn't change our priority in any way or the direction that we've been going. There was one design bid for that redesign that I highlighted a few months ago. That is being, I guess, continued to being evaluated, and the CCUA board also agreed that we needed to put out we're looking for additional bids, I guess, on design solutions for the CCUA plant. So that is sort of an ongoing process at this point, so I don't have any results of that, but hopefully later this year there'll be some more activity to report on. But that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I have no formal report this evening, except for I want to kind of echo Councilmember Benaj and Councilmember Martine spoke about the Bel Aire Recovery Center open house Friday afternoon and Friday evening. It was a really neat event. I was glad to be a part of that and officially welcome them to the city. I mean, this is a group that's going to be bringing clients in from across the country, and it's a beautiful facility, and it's good to see new business in there and a new business that's transforming lives as well. The Arbor Day celebration, I was happy to be there that Saturday with Chief Atterbury was there, our city manager was there, Councilmember Martine, and the Arbor Day celebration. I think sometimes our Tree City USA is something we take for granted here. And Chief Atterbury shared kind of an impromptu comment talking to a colleague who was looking to move to the area, who mentioned, without knowing or being prompted, just about how many trees we have here in Bel Aire and how nice it is for that. So that was a good meeting. And then do want to let council know that I will miss the next council meeting on the 21st of May. So be not available for that meeting for that. So have our council president, Jeff Hawes, will be in town, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just laying this out there. Okay. For that, we'll move on to our city attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do not have a report.
Okay. City manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple items. A reminder, the brush site's open this Saturday from 9 to 1. And with the weather we've been having, people may have some limbs down and such, and they can take it out there. Should be open, even though we've had a lot of moisture. The Public Works has done a good job of keeping gravel and things out there, so should be no problem. And we still have some mulch, if anybody wants some free mulch to mulch around the house, to go out there and pick that up. And then, again, I'd like to reiterate what council had said about the Lions Club. They were very helpful. They had actually two things going on Friday, or on Saturday. The shredding recycling day here at City Hall, and then the rec center had a bike event going on Saturday, and they had some members out there assisting with that as well. So they were busy, and we really appreciate their help this Saturday. So thank you, Mayor.
Okay, with that, we're going to move into ordinances, resolutions, and final actions. The first item to come before us this evening is a Waste Connections request for a 2% fee increase. Back in May of 2016, we, the city, entered into a 10-year agreement with Waste Connections to be the city's preferred hauler. The contract allows the hauler, Waste Connections, to request up to a 2% rate increase each year. And if memory serves, I think last year we did not do it, and the year before was a 1%. If memory serves, I'm trying to go back through some of my notes on that, but I know the city has 30 days to approve or disapprove or negotiate with them on this increase. So I want to see what council is wanting to do with that. Thoughts on that? You want to, Herschel, do you want to address this at all, or are you prepared to?
I believe it was a 1.5%
Is that what we did?
a couple years ago. I think that was the increase. Of course, I gave out a little letter to Ty. The cost of everything has gone up in a couple years, significantly, not significantly, but they have gone up. Fuel, last time we got the price increase, it was like $2.50, now it's $3.01. CPI, there's been a couple CPIs since then, and I believe the total of that is like there's a 1.24% CPI last year and 1.57 this year percent CPI increase. And we had a landfill increase. The tipping fees at the transfer station went from $60.50 to, from $59 2 years ago to $63 now, a 6.8% increase on that. And that's one of the reasons we're asking for an additional 2% increase.
So, Mr. West, just a curiosity question, and if you could do something for us.
Sure.
Okay? I understand the increased cost that you're incurring. I don't know how to put that into increased cost for Bel Aire. What does that mean? How does that pan out? I mean, your dumping fees are higher, but how much are your dumping fees for Bel Aire service? Your fuel costs are higher. How much of those fuel costs are for Bel Aire service? And I just wonder if there's a possibility you could put together maybe a spreadsheet of those items and show what they were when you signed the contract, what they were in 2017 when an increase was granted, and what they are today, so that we can make a better informed decision about,
I think I can do that. Yeah,
this.
that makes sense.
Would something you could do for us?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I can do that. Sure, I'll try to see if I can find the tonnage of what we are doing now. I'm assuming it's the same. Whatever routes we're picking up in Bel Aire, I'm sure there's not going to be much difference if it was 2 years ago. So, yeah, I can figure something out like that.
Okay. Thank
Not
you.
a problem.
City Attorney, I'd like to ask, does that keep us in compliance if we were to, I guess, not to put words in Councilmember Benaj's mouth, but maybe ask him to table this until
Yeah, that's where I was going,
if-
obviously, is to table this until Mr. West has an opportunity to get those numbers to us.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Hold on, I was trying to.
I was going to say, yes, this contract goes through the 31st, and we can terminate it at any time. Let me just review real quick.
Okay,
Right.
we answered the question. I just want to make sure. So, if at the May 21st meeting,
Yes, you could
we
take
can
this
have.
up
I just want to make sure I
and
didn't.
still be in
Sorry,
compliance.
Councilmember Smith wanted to ask something.
Yeah, am I recalling correctly that we're not obligated to approve the increase?
Correct. You can renew the contract up through 2026 without having to renegotiate the rate that you've agreed to. And of course, either party can back out at any time, but you don't have to, you're not obligated to increase any time. And you have 30 days to review this, which doesn't coincide with the amount of days before the contract expires. So it'd be the cleanest to address it at the next meeting if you decide to table it.
What is the will of the council on that?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'm not actually going to be in favor of raising the rates. I don't think there's been any significant cost increase probably over the last year that would be, something that wouldn't be reasonably projectable by a business going into a 10-year contract. And so I'm confident that when they entered into that, they're accounted for base CPI increases over the life of a 10-year contract. And I did just a little bit of research on Waste Connections, and it sounds from their quarterly update that they're having a very good year. Their press release indicated that their revenue from the first quarter totaled $1.245 billion, up from $1.14 billion last year. And so they're having a very profitable year with a very favorable outlook. And so I'm really confident that they're not in desperate need of our 2% increase. And so I'm not going to be in favor of raising the rate unless we absolutely have to in order to continue to get trash service from Waste Connections.
Mr. Mayor, I agree with Dustin.
Mr. Mayor, I agree with the sentiment of Councilman Smith as well. In looking at the letter that was sent to our city manager, one of the things that stuck out at me that I just thought was a little, I don't know, a little peculiar, I guess, identifying the number of tons of trash during the cleanup on April 6th. And I mean, I don't know, I guess it kind of comes across as like throwing out some numbers, trying to make a case for an increase. And I'm sure that Waste Connections business plan, that's part of the contract, that we're going to have those special cleanup days, and we do appreciate those, and I think the citizens like having those special trash cleanup days and whatnot. But that's already in our contract. I mean, that's not something that's like an additional cost that I can see. But yeah, we have an opportunity here to vote ourselves an increase, and I don't see any rational reason for why we would do that. So. I also am not in favor of any kind of increase.
Well, I asked earlier on what the council wanted to do with this, so I'd certainly entertain a motion on it.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move to deny the solid waste and recycling increase.
Second?
Okay, we have first and second. Are there any other questions or comments?
My only additional concern with that is I do know that recycling is becoming a really big problem. I know a lot of communities are having to stop recycling because of the cost of recycling. And I know it's not currently our issue, but it is something on the horizon. So when I asked Mr. West for some cost analysis, I was hoping that we could make a better informed decision. I'm not saying Waste Connection is doing poorly. I'm not saying they're doing great. Revenue numbers are great to know, but there's a cost factor too. So I'm not in favor of this motion for that reason. I don't think we have enough information to make an informed decision. So that's my thought on this. I'm not saying that an increase is in line or appropriate. I'm not saying it's not. I just don't have enough information today. Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Call for the vote then. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-2.
I would like to thank you for your business. Can I bring up one other subject because we started talking about the cleanup? We've noticed not just in the city of Bel Aire, but we've seen a lot of homeowners putting more than just your bulky items. They're putting construction, like they remodeled a bedroom or a living room or something, and they're putting that to the curb. And tree limbs, if you put them out there and they're bolted up real nice, we'll pick them up. But a lot of people are just throwing them out there, and it takes a lot of time to get those kind of piles collected. And I know a couple of years ago, you guys handed this out. I don't know if you guys are still doing that. Kind of says the do's and don'ts. because we'd like to kind of go back to that where we're not picking up somebody's remodeling job, or we've seen, not like I say here, but if somebody gets a whole brand new wood fence, they'll put that to the curb. We've seen that in Clearwater, where the whole fence is out there, and they expect us to pick it up, and we have. But we just kind of like the bulky items, refrigerators, your couches, your things that you want to clean up and get rid of, not your construction and if you do have piles of limbs, have them 4 foot in length, bundled up, so we can just run by and pick them up. If we can do that this coming fall.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, next we're going to move on to item B, which is adopting the 2019 Water Conservation Plan. KDHE, the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, requires all water suppliers, which we are, one, to maintain a water conservation plan in case of a drought or water emergency. I know all the rain we've had and the rain forecasted. It seems surprising we're talking about this, but our staff and the UAC Utility Advisory Committee reviewed this 2018 plan, and they made just a few minor tweaks to it, and it's now ready for council approval. If there's any questions, I see that Ann Stevens is in the audience, and I'll point you in her direction if you do.
Mr. Mayor, my only concern on the conservation plan, it seems to rely heavily on Channel 6 for communication, and not everybody has access to Channel 6, so I won't get that communication if it comes out on Channel 6. And I'm not asking that it be done in this version, but maybe next year we look at expanding that communication, and what makes the sense, what's appropriate, so that more citizens can have access to that information.
Good point. Yeah, that's under the application. Okay. I think that's it.
You sure that's not a typo? I thought it'd always been under Channel 12.
I think it's the city of Bel Aire.
The city channel, I think is what?
7.
7.
Is it 7?
7, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
it says 6 in here, because I wrote down 6 now. Maybe I'm mistaken, but whichever channel it is, the one that's the
It says right there, local box cable, Channel 7,
Yeah, okay. Then it's
Okay.
7.
number 6,
Okay.
item 6 is what it
Yeah,
was.
okay, thank you for that correction. Anyway, that cable channel, I don't have cable, so I don't get that channel, and I know lots of citizens don't. So,
Well, and it does say and city website, so maybe that could just be expanded next year.
right, that's all I asked for that to be looked at.
those in the water bills and all that. Okay, perfect. Any other questions or comments? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve the 2019 Water Conservation Plan for the City of Bel Aire and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
First and second, any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, item C is a culvert replacement. This is underneath Oliver between 47th and 48th. You can see the two bids that we received there are significantly different in price. Almost $16,000 in price there. This is a metal drainage culvert, like I said, running under Oliver, just north of 47th Street. It's deteriorated, to the point you can see there in the pictures that it needs to be replaced. Staff's solicited quotes for a replacement concrete culvert, which is going to last a lot longer than metal when you're dealing with water, I would think, and rust and all that. So, NOAC Construction was the lowest at $31,152, whereas the other bid came in at $54,000. So those are the two we have. And again, I would, if anybody has any questions, we can certainly send them Ann's way.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a question for Ann.
Okay. Thank you. Ann Stevens, our city engineer, so welcome.
Thank you.
So I did a drive-by of the site because you told us exactly where it was. And I noticed we today just have kind of a metal plate over it, and it looks like it's from the picture, it's just kind of a hole on the very edge of the really wide shoulder on the road. So could you help us understand the implications of this damage and what that means and why we're looking to do a complete, restoration there versus just like leave a metal patch there?
Sure. We do not have the ability to televise that line, so we cannot see the overall extent of the damage throughout the entire line. But knowing that there's damage on the edge, it's fairly safe to assume that there's damage further through. And construction standards have changed, and that now the standard for any storm sewer in right-of-way is concrete pipe instead of the metal culverts. And so I'd like to be somewhat proactive, somewhat reactive in this situation and getting it replaced with concrete, so there is no dire need of a hole in the middle of the street where the driving lane is. So I'm looking out for the safety of our traveling public in addition to kind of just overall asset management.
So the concern isn't necessarily the hole on the shoulder, it's that we'll likely end up with a hole in the middle of the road, in the center of Oliver, preventing people from being able to safely drive on Oliver.
Correct.
How many other metal culverts do we have like this that are under our primary roadways?
A lot. And I don't have a number for you, but there's quite a bit. And we do drive the roads. This was actually noticed by our street sweeper operator as he was driving by sweeping the streets. Noticed the hole, we're addressing it. We also addressed a culvert with a similar issue over in the Aurora Park neighborhood that our staff did ourselves. But since this one is on a major road, there's more traffic control required, and we feel more comfortable having a contractor do this so as to protect our employees.
Are there any other alternatives to the concrete culvert that we should consider?
For under streets, no, that is the accepted solution. There are other solutions. You could put in a corrugated metal pipe, but you're looking at a limited lifespan on that. The concrete has pretty much indefinite lifespan as long as it's not damaged in transit. There are HDPE alternatives. Those are not recommended for under-traveled roadways. Those are more recommended for like a farm road or just culverts that you need to go from like an inlet out to a pond. So there are other alternatives, but the industry standard is the concrete culvert.
I'm just concerned at a cost of $31,000 is kind of the low bid here. This may be the first of many of these, and I'm just not sure we can afford to go replace all of them. And so I'm just wondering
you will when they fall in.
I'm just wondering what our other options are, if there are any, because that's going to add up real fast.
And we've been running into about one or so a year. I mean, especially under the major roads where we have to farm it out. City staff does our own.
I mean, there's no doubt that it has to be done.
Yeah, I would highly encourage if this get approved.
One question I had, I know that a few months ago there was, the county had identified several bridges that had not been inspected in some time. Was this one of those that had failed to be inspected for a while?
The county's, the state's definition of a bridge is any span that is 20 feet or more. It could be a series of culverts from the outside end of one culvert to the inside end of the other. So it's, the culverts are so from one to the other, or large box culverts from the edge to the edge. So since this is fairly small, the pipe I think was 24 inch by 42 inch. That's not come close to the 20 foot that the state requires.
So this wasn't one of those?
Correct.
Okay. My one concern on this, and I'm sure you probably share this concern, is that we don't start this until Hillside and 45th are back open, fully operational. That road gets a lot of traffic diverted from 45th and Hillside, and if we start this project, that'll just make it a bigger mess, traffic-wise.
Yes. We can, thank you for bringing that up. We will definitely direct No Walk to wait until that 45th and Hillside intersection is open. I actually talked to the city of Wichita today, and they are expecting it to be open. They've got about 2 to 3 days worth of work but they have to wait for the street to dry up. So I'm going to say 2 to 3 weeks, just because of the weather that we have.
I drove by there yesterday. It looked like they're getting close, but
Yes.
it isn't there.
It is very, very close to being done.
Is this an immediate safety concern?
It is not. It is not immediate, as in get it replaced yesterday. Otherwise, I would have worked with Ty to make it happen. But it needs to be replaced in the near future.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. I have not driven by and seen it myself. Is this a hazard for pedestrians or children, or is it marked, or how is it? If we're going to wait, which is fine, but how long, or not how long, but to what extent is this a hazard for like a child, or a runner or a walker?
Certainly, as Mr. Smith mentioned, that we do have a metal plate over the top of it, so it does not pose a significant hazard, but it is raised above the ground a little bit, so there could be a tripping hazard. But I would say, just looking at kind of the realm of hazards, it's fairly low, just because we do have it covered. We are keeping a watch over it, making sure that the hole does not expand.
Okay.
I also noticed there were orange cones on both sides of it on metal rods to help provide visibility to that.
Thank you. It's been a while since I've been out there.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can I ask him a question that does not pertain to this?
If you want
About
to.
rodeo.
Yeah. Councilman wants to ask about another street.
I noticed a couple of weeks ago that they were working on rodeo. Are they finished with that street? And has it been checked out and released, or they picked up and went home because of rains? Or where do we stand on that rodeo street?
They are in the middle of working on it. They are not finished. There was some additional work that needed to be done, so they have been stopped because of the rains. They can't work in this weather,
Okay.
but they will be coming back to finish the pieces that they already had started. Plus, there are some additional driveway curb and gutters that needed to be replaced, so they will be coming back to do that.
And you're watching them with this project?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to accept the no-walk construction bid of $31,152 and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
First and second, any other questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Item D is consideration of quotes for an online payment service solution. Very glad to see that we are looking at this, and it is 2019. So, this is another one of those things where there's a time where we couldn't even have these conversations, and we can now. So as part of this is part of our mission, and we talked a lot about that too recently, to be more responsive to our citizens. I think it's time that we move into the 21st century for this and accept online payments for utilities. Court and rec staff has been working with our software company to identify vendors that can interact with our system, because it's complex. Not only do we have to find that vendor, it has to be able to work with our current billing system and everything to make these payments available. And I know that would be really nice for people who need to pay, make a payment to the city. They can go on the website, and I think all of my payments are done online. And now Ted Henry's here, and our budget director, and he spent a great deal of time on this issue and has a recommendation for us. If you'd like to come forward and tell us a little bit more about that. You can see there in our packet that we have 3 different quotes that were received at different varying prices here. So.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Probably last time I get to say this, but our slogan was City of the Future with respect to its past, and I think we respected our past long enough with our online service report. My report kind of starts off with the way it currently works. It's only utility bills are available for payment, and it acts pretty much like a one-time payment. I think everybody on the council and everybody listening has made a one-time payment to an outside, maybe you tried to buy something online and you had to put in all your information and remember your account number. And so that's what, if someone's trying to pay us online every month, they have to go in and fill out all their information. So my first step was to try to make this easier for the customer, of course. The other side of when someone does that is people can put anything into the account fields. So they could put 1, 2, 3, 4. And what happens is on the administrative side, we look at it and we hope that the name matches an account name, or we're scrambling to try to find where this payment needs to be credited to. So I kind of outlined on page 2 kind of the amount of staff time it takes to really process each morning all the online payments. All of our solutions, that was number 1. You have to be able to talk to our accounting software so we can just download the report and it inserts it right into what we run our utility management and accounting softwares on. And that's really the difficult part is there's so many moving parts to this, and I understand why nobody tried it before, but I finally figured it out a little bit. We looked at, our first stop was with our online, or with our accounting software company, which is G-Works. They have a nice platform, but they're only available for utility payments. Now, what posed us a problem there was, one, what if we do not retain this accounting software? We're getting on to the 2012 or 2010 was the last time we purchased some. It's very expensive. Wait till you see that price tag when I bring that up to you. So we're not looking to switch providers anytime soon, but eventually we will. So what happens is when you leave that company, everybody's going to have to get new everything else when they try to pay their bills. So I thought a third-party solution would be best. And that's when we met the people from eCity. They're very responsive, very inclusive in the fact that I said, this is what I want. And they say, okay, we can build it for you. You know, this is what you need. They're able to do court payments, which is none of the other providers really were. It's a very specialized industry. Water Smart, I thought theirs was pretty interesting way of doing about things. They actually tap into each meter read, so you can see the lifetime. They're very expensive because they can do that. But the problem with that is what a lot of citizens realize, and I realize is your sewer is a large portion of your whole utility bill. So if I provide an online solution that only shows your water usage, it's not going to tell you the whole story. The other part is our rec director came in my office and said, I was just at a conference, and they said anybody that doesn't have an online solution where a mom can get on her phone, sign her kid up to basketball, pay for it, and do everything, please stand up. And no one stood up in the room, and our rec director said I didn't even want to stand up because I didn't want to be the only one standing, which I'm sure there's other cities in the state of Kansas that don't have this solution, but that was the drawing line of, hey, let's get something in rec going. Civ Rec does a great job, but when we looked at the total package, the eCity proposal that I'm recommending tonight, they're able to do all three, utility, court, and recreation at a high level. The other great thing that I noticed about eCity was they're willing to grow with us. So they're not going to throw onto my staff all their bells and whistles all at once. We have the ability to get all the bells and whistles, but we're going to go slowly on this and slowly incorporate more. So we're going to get the base services up, and then maybe we say, hey, we would like this feature. They'll add it, and there's no big deal on that. So I was really happy to see them be able to work with me and my staff. With something new, you don't want to throw everything at somebody. I think that's about covers my report. We can open up to questions. I tried to take some screenshots in the city of Chapman, wherever they are. Were kind of my guinea pigs. So I guess the other great thing I'll last mention before I take questions is Tristan, our director of communications, was on every single demo that I went through, and I thank her for doing that with me. But I really want to make sure the communication piece and the finance piece were in line, and she really was impressed with the transition. So usually when you go to pay, it'll look like a different site and it scares you. This transition is a lot really smooth, and they keep our banners so it looks good and it looks as if you're on the same site and you're not at some off-site, which scared us with some other providers as well. So I'll be happy to take any questions.
Ted, I just want to say I really appreciate the detailed here. Several pages here, and the one that does it for me is the chart here. I think on page 2 of your 20-page report here, breaks down the fact that exactly what you just said, how it can take not only recreation but court and utility. So, the way I look at this is we kind of need to compare eCity to WaterSmart, but when I look at that, I don't see, not only is eCity the cheapest between the two, and the cheapest ongoing as well, they cover all four. For that. So I just want to say I really appreciate all that information. I would certainly concur with your recommendation that it's time that we do this and that we go with eCity.
Yes, sir, Mayor, I have
Yes.
a question. Thank you for all your hard work and research in this stuff. I know it takes a lot of time, and going over that stuff is not fun sometimes. So I appreciate that and the work of everybody on the staff. One thing I was looking for do these systems, do any of them have an app that's downloaded to the phone, or does this only interact with the Bel Aire website, or?
Interacts with the Bel Aire website, but it is all, and I understand what you're saying. I believe it would be, it's accessible mobily, of course, but it would be something where you'd have to go on your Chrome, on your Chrome app. It wouldn't be a specific app. Yeah, so you'd be able to do it on your phone. Yeah, I think every solution is mobile compliant nowadays.
Right. Okay.
I was going to say any of the things I see, it always says go to the full website or whatever when you're doing the phone. So.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Sorry.
Can this be expanded to, like, say, an app? I'm thinking.
I believe so.
I'm thinking of the citizens going, okay, I got to pay my water bill, and then my kid needs signed up for the rec center we got to buy our pool pass for this year, and just have kind of everything accessible that way instead of trying. I know some people don't navigate websites so well, and if just things like that were on an app, is that expandable to something like that?
I'm about 99.9% sure the eCity folks have a solution for that, and I'll double check it. And that's maybe something I didn't point out as well in my report and here today. But the biggest thing, and I think I might have mentioned in the report on this, is it'll work exactly like Amazon or whatever. Maybe not as sleek, but you can pay your water bill, transition to another page because you're already signed in. Sign up your kid to soccer practice or soccer, and then check out in the top right, and it'll have everything in one transaction, and you can go. So I understand what you're trying to say with the app, but even what I think the underlying sentiment, what you're saying, will be accessible right now. And I'll work with Tristan, our Director of Communications, on that as well to get more app accessibility. I don't know about you guys, but I don't really have too many useless apps on my phone, so I want to make sure if we roll something out, it's worth it before someone downloads it, use it once, and then deletes it. And that's really why this takes a lot of time, is I want to try to think of everything before we roll something out, and then people just say it's junk.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Ted, when I was going through this report, I didn't see anything in there. A lady or a man coming in to train the employees after this is all set up. Is that included in this price, or is that extra?
Yeah, Rich, and most of the training will be over the phone, and it's included in the price. It's not going to be they're going to come in, I don't believe. It's pretty.
No, over the phone's fine.
Yeah, a lot of it is showing the back end and doing a lot of training. I'm actually pretty thrilled. We're gonna put one of our frontline staff members in charge of this project alongside with me. So one of our front staff members is actually going to be expertly trained, and then she's going to help navigate a lot of different areas. So I'm real excited to give one of our staff members that responsibility. Also, have an expert in our building with that training.
Thank you.
I have a few questions, and I do appreciate you bringing this up because I was quite surprised when I went to pay a rec center bill and they could only take checks and cash. I was like, oh, we need to fix that. So I appreciate that.
And I will say ACH is available, 100% free. Just all you have to do is call the office, come in, fill out a form, and you're set. So there is a free option for any citizen that just wants to set up an ACH. They'll draw it straight from your bank at the 5th of every month. So
those that have the water bills already set up with ACH, will this be seamless to them, or will they have?
Yeah, they won't have to do anything. They don't have to do anything.
This will be seamless to them.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And what about data security, both on our servers and the vendor servers? Have we looked at those?
Yeah, there's really no. One, we contract with our merchant is Forte, which they have all the security. I believe the legal security issues, and then this company is more of a form that. And then if you notice in their they work with a gateway company that takes their security. So it's eCity, and then this gateway company, and then Forte, and this gateway and Forte is all the e-security. It never touches eCity's servers, I guess you would say.
So you're confident the security is there? That
100%.
We're not going to get a bunch of.
No.
We're not going to be in the news someday and say, "Well, our data was stolen and all these accounts are exposed."
No, we take that very serious.
Okay, thank you. Have we gotten references and talked to other municipalities about these systems?
I've been working a little bit with some of our other proposals with City of Goddard. eCity was brought to my attention by a former city council member of the City of Bel Aire that was in the credit card business. So that was my intersection of eCity. So that was a lot of my trust was built into that. I'm not sure. eCity is with maybe 2 or 3 other cities in Kansas, maybe more. I'll have to get that list. But a lot of mine was with a former council member of this board who gave me the referral.
Is it our intention to charge fees for the system, like credit card, debit card, transaction fees, and those kinds of things?
Right now it's 2.5, and that's just the Forte portion. It wasn't. We did set the utility in the utility budgets. We did set a budgetary line item for that for the initial setup, $6,000, and then the remaining will be absorbed for the setup fee in the general fund. That would be a discussion for you folks. My intention is not to pass that on to the residents, just because I want to incentivize them to make an online payment, especially now that we have these in place where it takes one button and it populates our accounting system. Right now, I wouldn't know if I'd want to incentivize anybody to pay online because it takes our staff 2 minutes to, a lot of time to do it versus bringing a check. But now that we have better systems, I'd more like to incentivize them to pay online. Now, if the cost becomes too great, which I think $5,000 between 3 separate departments within our city per year is really not a large sum to absorb within the city, but that would be a budget discussion as well. As if you want to have that discussion tonight, we can, but I think we'd rather work off some numbers.
Okay. Compatibility with G-Works and other systems, have you validated that compatibility? Is it?
Yeah, so
it works?
Really anybody's compatible, or anybody, most companies are compatible, because what G-Works does is sends a think of an Excel file of people's account numbers and how much is owed. That's about it. And you just upload it every morning, download the payment every night. And it's not necessarily what you'd think, credit card number or anything like that. It's just they paid, that type of thing.
And that's a manual process that staff will do every day? Or
It is a manual process. The only way we can not get it manual is to go with G-Works, and then I run into all the problems we talked about before, is we would have to get a different provider for rec and a different provider for court. So we're sacrificing the 2 or 3 clicks every morning and night for that all-inclusive city one-stop shop.
Okay, so there's some human interaction that has to happen every day. To maintain. Okay.
And we pull the same reports every morning, so it's not going to add a lot of issue because we close out our drawer every morning.
Okay. So I saw that there were some monthly fees for this service, about $400 if we're under 700 utility transactions per month.
Mm-hmm.
How many utility transactions per month are we seeing?
We're right around, so last year we did around under 7,000, just under 7,000 transactions. So 583 right now a month.
You do 583 transactions a month?
Something around there, yeah, if I had to guess. 600.
And that's without this in place, so it's
Yes.
I thought we had more utility customers than that. So.
Oh, utility transactions total?
Yeah. Well, what does this tell us?
This is telling us online.
Online. 700 utility transactions per month.
Yeah, online utility transactions.
Okay.
People that do it online.
Okay.
Yeah, lots of people send in a check or cash or actually a vast majority.
How about those of us that just do the HCA? Do we? Because I never go online and do anything. You just
Yeah.
Is that counted in this number?
That's not in this number, no.
Okay.
That the ACH is between our bank and your bank.
Right.
Yeah. There's no up in the air for that.
Okay. And is there a cost for any required equipment that we've not seen here?
Any required what?
Equipment that we've made.
No.
Is there other equipment we need to purchase to make this happen?
No.
So it's, everything we have today is what we need.
Yep.
Okay.
And to further your point, that monthly fee is, I just calculate it as an annual amount, and that's what makes up the annual fee on your column there.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
I saw that.
Yeah. I just want to make sure you didn't think it was an add-on fee.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That you clarify that, because I did figure that out, but I was concerned about the 700 transactions, because I think we have a lot more utility.
We
customers than
have
700.
thousands.
What is it, about 2,500, or do we know?
No, we're up around 3,900 accounts, something like that.
Okay. Thank you. All right, that's all the question I had.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, just a couple of questions from me. So on the ACH question, will the ACH transactions also be processed through this methodology?
Nope, nothing will change with the ACH transaction.
Because that's currently a manual process that staff does as well. Is that true?
Yes, it takes, and this is kind of the year of streamlining, as we streamline that process as well. It might take
5 minutes.
20 minutes.
Okay.
For all of them?
Yeah. Download a report, and we kind of look it over a little more than we probably should, but we do. We're very careful. And then you upload the file to the bank, and then the bank withdraws it, and then we download the file into the accounts.
So is this software that we'd be purchasing something that eCity is going to be building for us, or are they adding us to like a platform that they already have? So think about it, like, are we going to go to a website and create an account with them, and then the city's going to start using the site that they already have, or are they going to build something that's part of our website and we'll host?
Completely. Well, they'll host the website, the payment side, but it's completely customizable from the city's point of view. They build it. It would be their host. You'll see a change, but like I said earlier, it's going to look like you're on the same site, but it's definitely their hosting that website. They're not building it on our website.
Okay.
And I'm sure they have the template, basic template, but they update it with all our information and different things.
When do you think we'll be kind of revisiting the solution for the accounting software, the GE Works? What type of timeline do you think we're on for that? And the reason that I ask is because if we think we're going to be kind of revisiting that in the next year or so, then I wonder if it makes sense to look at these together in case one of the solutions we might look at has some great synergies between the solutions, or perhaps some of this functionality might be built into something that we might be purchasing already in the accounting software.
Well, you're looking at around at least $100,000 transaction there. Judging from the priorities, right now, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Really, our system's not broke. It's a little dated, but I came from Valley. They have the same type of system. Goddard runs on the same system we're currently on. Keachai runs on the same system we're currently on. So I'm not going to be the first guinea pig, I guess I could say. So I don't see us moving in the next 5 years.
Okay.
And that's only because of the barrier to entry cost, and I believe priorities are hard when something's working.
Okay. I thought that's what I'd say, but I just wanted to make sure because I don't want to go spend $15,000 on this and then in 6 months be looking at the accounting software, and some of the accounting software options have this capability built in. I want to make sure we'll be on this long enough to actually get the value out of it, and that we shouldn't be looking at a more holistic solution.
Sure. And they do.
All right, just a curiosity question about the G-Works and the other software you're using. Are you getting good support and updates on those?
So
Sometimes
Data Technologies just got bought out by G-Works about 3 months ago. I'm seeing some pretty good improvements, but you can tell they're merging 2 companies right now. So I'm going to hold judgment until they fully roll out. But sometimes if you put in a call, it might be a day. Sometimes it might be the same day, but sometimes it might be 3 days. It depends on the severity level, that kind of thing.
Have they committed to a timeline at which they'll continue to support the product that we're on? Some software vendors will require you to purchase upgrades or do enhancements every X number of years, and kind of force the issue, even if it's not broke and you don't want to change. They may actually kind of force you to do that.
I will have to read into a lot more. Right now, I haven't seen any issue with that.
So when we call them, they're not saying anything like, "Oh, you guys are on a really old version. We're not sure if we can help you with that." No, they send us updates about once a year. I get an update notice.
So the backbone's not COBOL.
No.
Okay. Well, I think that's all of my questions. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments for our budget director on this?
I guess I have just a small concern, item of hesitation about this. The eCity looks like a great solution before us. I Googled the address of the company, and it goes to a single house, like located in a residential neighborhood, and I thought that was just kind of weird. I mean, I know we're in the e-commerce era here, but that kind of gave me a little bit of pause, and I don't know if we looked into that. I mean, everything here on paper looks great, but I just thought that's kind of weird if this company is operating out of a small home business. It's like 2 people that work there. Or like, do we know? Like,
sure.
What's your experience? It sounds all.
I've had probably over 15 conversations with the 3 guys that build that work with her, and there's nothing. They've been nothing but professional to me. I guess I can. I'm not sure how you want me to judge that.
It's kind of a weird thing. I don't know what to make of that.
Well, let me tell you. I'll tell you from my where I work last year. A lot of people know I'm a fundraiser. We did an online auction, and we hired a house literally out of Florida company, and it was 2.5 people, and they worked. I mean, it's a home-based business that is doing that, and they have clients all over the country. So they don't need to go rent big office space. It works for them. So I would wonder if this may be very similar to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably fine.
But I appreciate you bringing that up. I mean, that's something
Well,
to consider.
The question is really kind of on what is our exposure, right?
Right.
If this is a small company, that maybe they not being a company anymore, and if that happens, what's our exposure on that, and are we comfortable with the risk? And do we have the ability to kind of credit check the company? Or I liked Councilmember Benage's question earlier on at least talking to some customer references might be prudent prior to actually inking a deal with them. I think having some conversations with somebody that's successfully implemented and is really happy is probably a very prudent step.
I echo those comments. I think it would behoove us to get those references.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing is that, I don't want to put words in council's mouth here, but we like the idea of East City. We like the idea of moving us into the 21st century and doing this sooner rather than later. But it might be prudent to hang tight a couple weeks and have you get a couple more.
I have no problem with that, guys. We're we're not in any rush, and I'm glad you pointed out a few things to me, and I'll ask those questions.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
What would an implementation timeline look like on this? Did they give us an estimate of what the duration would be, when they would start, things like that?
I think a month, maybe 60 days. The last time I spoke with them, we didn't talk a definitive implementation. Really, what you do is talk to these guys for an hour demo, and then you ask them all your questions on the operational side. So you guys are giving me a lot of good questions to continue to ask.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we table the consideration of online payment services until the next council meeting.
I'll second.
First and second to table this conversation. Any other questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. This official item to come before council tonight is consideration of an ordinance. This is for a cell tower, but we're considering the amendment of a Chapter 18A, Article 8.05, to be very specific, of the zoning regulations, and also Chapter 17, Article 10 of the Code of the City of Bel Aire, Kansas, all within the City of Bel Aire. For that, which is what is on our agenda this evening, since it is an ordinance change. Basically, why we're looking at this is with federal changes to cell tower regulations. Jackie's been working, with us for a number of months going on this, and the Planning Commission as well, to get all of our city codes updated and up to par with that. And I'm going to ask, especially now as my voice is starting to go out, if Jackie, if you could expand a little bit more on that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council visited this a couple of months ago at a workshop. I think it was March. The FCC is requiring cities to comply with the progression of 5G technology. And one of those ways that they're implementing that is to require cities to is restricting municipalities' ability to prevent 5G from coming to their cities. So one way cities were kind of slowing that process down was through the planning and zoning process, requiring cell tower companies to go through a lengthy process to meet certain standards in this city that may not be required in other cities. So in an effort to kind of make that entire process more uniform across the country, which would allow more cell companies to effectively get their technology throughout the country faster, they came out with a declaratory ruling that's restricted the standards that cities can regulate within their city. So we went through our code to get in compliance with that, with those requirements, and we kind of scrubbed the code to modify the restrictions that the FCC requires, including specifically the reporting here that points to the exact areas we changed. Oh, there we go. local aesthetics requirements, focusing on allowing small cell towers. That was the key language in the FCC's requirement. Allowing wireless providers to submit a single application for multiple locations. Here in Bel Aire prior, each location required an application, which could be costly and take time. Now under the FCC requirement, a company like Sprint could come in and request multiple sites in one location and meet those requirements more easily. And we also defined the small cell facility to match the FCC's requirement as well. So those three minor changes, or not minor changes, but those three changes were made. Planning Commission did ask that at some point council grant them the authority to review this entire monstrous
Godspeed to them.
That they would like to consult with an expert to possibly make it even more easy, like we did for the home-based business process. So obviously we needed to get this done to get in compliance now, but Planning Commission really felt like there was more work to be done. So, and I would answer any questions, Mr. Mayor.
So what would your recommendation be, especially coming out of what the Planning Commission is recommending?
Yes, after reviewing Planning Commission's input and reviewing the code, I recommend that these changes be adopted because they do bring us into compliance with FCC regulations and allow Bel Aire to now implement our code because it's in compliance with law. Because otherwise we could keep our code as it was, but when companies came in to do business with Bel Aire, they could challenge it and it can become a big problem.
Sorry, I interrupted somebody.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I was just going to say that as I read through this, I thought that it was extremely complex, and as I looked at the, I'll just say 11D, because there's a lot of steps that somebody would have to go through to do this, it made me realize why our cell coverage isn't so great here in Bel Aire, because this process is it's got a lot of room for opportunity, and so I'm really glad that the Planning Commission is interested in studying this further. I'm in favor of approving it tonight, but I'd also be in favor of adding an agenda item to go ahead and ask the Planning Commission to review this at their convenience, to go ahead and put this back on their agenda. And so
I'd echo those concerns. My only concern about this is if we're needing to spend money for a consultant, and I want to be cautious about that because this technology is changing on us quite rapidly, and I don't know a consultant today will help us 6 months from now. So this is a concern I have. So and it's a crystal ball. Nobody knows. Right? Is this ordinance, just a facetious question, is this ordinance going to require cell towers like the one on the right? In the picture? I mean, I see those. I see those sometimes around the country.
Right. And I think the initial...
Or palm trees.
Yeah, the state changes, the changes that happened in 2016 in Topeka were related to cities requiring cell towers to look like indigenous trees. And so this will loosen up our ability, not our ability, but our demand that any company coming to Bel Aire must initially start with something that's so restrictive that it doesn't allow for much negotiating. So it just opens up so that way they may look like that, or they may look like other lean, clean, stealth features as well.
I just like to say, our last conversation before was all about getting us into the 21st century, and so being available and open for the 5G and being compatible with the FCC. There's a lot of times in my house where I have one bar, and so
charge your phone.
It's charged. It still doesn't get better reception. So for that, So I also would encourage passing of this as well.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I move to approve an ordinance concerning the amendment of Chapter 18A, Article 8.05 of the zoning regulations and Chapter 17, Article 10 of the Code of the City of Bel Air, Kansas, all within the City of Bel Air, Sedgwick County, Kansas, and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
First and second, since it is an ordinance, it does call for a roll call vote as opposed to a up or down vote. Councilmember Benaj?
Aye.
Councilmember Elsoff?
Aye.
Councilmember Hawes?
Aye.
Councilmember Martine?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
And I also vote in the affirmative. Passes. Okay. So discussion and future issues. Just wanted to bring up, this was brought to my attention shortly before the meeting. I just want to recognize Councilmember Benaj, who received a nice thank you letter from the Respect Life Social Justice Office of the Catholic Diocese for volunteering his time at the Warming Soul Shelter, and that was sent here to City Hall for that. So,
Mr. Mayor, that's really a recognition of all the staff that has helped with that. Ty helped with that. Councilmember Smith helped with that. Tristan, I can't remember everybody that helped. There was a whole lot of people. Ted Henry helped. Tristan helped. And I don't remember the whole list, but there were like 10 people that helped with this.
That's
So
fantastic.
It really is commending to everybody who participated.
thank you. Well, so let me pass this on to our city manager then, so he can maybe make copies for the employees who are involved for that. Appreciate you pointing that out, Councilmember Benaj. The other thing I wanted to bring up, we have workshops on the second Tuesday of each month. We're not required to do them unless it's kind of up to us. I don't really have anything specific that we would need to discuss, and I think especially coming after our don't want to try to sound lazy here, but after our very lengthy workshops we had in April and May, discussing the Woodlawn project and other things, I'm wondering if we, or March and April, excuse me, if we could punt on having a May workshop, or if council believes we should have one.
I think we should have one, Mayor.
I'm okay with not having one. I would like sometime to say if we could get a report from the PBC. I have not heard anything from them, and I think would be helpful for the council to know what's going on there.
Mr. Mayor, the only other thing that I was thinking about is we've talked a little bit about the FCC plan and sending that back to the Planning Commission, and I think we need to have some more discussion on what's appropriate there from consulting or not consulting, and so it sounds like maybe that needs to be a workshop topic that we discuss that before we then send it back to the Planning Commission for review.
Yeah.
So I don't know that needs to happen this month, but it sounds like we need to put that on the agenda for the June workshop.
Okay, we can do it. And I have no need for an executive session. Is anybody else? No, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion we adjourn.
Second.
First and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned at 8:27.